Hi, I'm Chad with Move for Guitar. This lesson is from our series, Music Theory for Guitar. In this lesson, I'm going to show you more advanced ways to use the minor pentatonic scale to solo over minor chords. First off, if you like the diagrams for everything in this series, including the diagrams for this lesson, you can download our free e-guide, Music Theory for Guitar. And this e-guide will be something that you can study and use as a reference for years to come. And like I said, it's free, so there's no reason not to just go download it. This is part 5.24 from our series, Music Theory for Guitar. If you'd like to go back and start at the beginning, you can click the link on the screen. So in the last lesson, I showed you how the major and minor pentatonic scales come out of the modes. They can all be built out of the major scale modes. And then I showed you how you can use them to solo over chords and chord progressions. In this lesson, I'm going to show you more advanced ways to use them for soloing, which is a big step in using the minor pentatonic scales in a more advanced way. A lot of people never get to this point, and it doesn't mean that you have to get to this point when you're using pentatonic scales. There's a lot of great players that don't use this system, but it is a way you can use them in more advanced music, or to make a simple, even one chord vamp more advanced and have more advanced harmonies going on. But again, don't think that doing this makes you a better player. There are some amazing players from the past or even now who didn't use this type of method, who are untouchable as far as their skill goes or what they were able to do in music. So don't think it's something you have to do if you don't like the sound, or that it makes you a better player doing it. It's just another option if you want to create different sounds with the pentatonic scales. So if you were to solo over one chord that was a minor 7 chord or a minor chord, or any of the minor chords from the major scale keys, but we'll just talk about a minor 7 right now, and we'll do an A minor 7. You can use a minor pentatonic with the same root. So you'd use A minor pentatonic scale to solo over this A minor 7 chord. And that's one of the most basic ways to use the minor pentatonic scale to solo over a chord. You take the minor pentatonic scale, solo over a minor chord with the same root name. And if you were to do that, the A minor pentatonic scale is A, C, D, E, G, A. And over that A minor 7 chord, that would be the root, the flat 3, the 4, 5, flat 7, back to root. If you wanted to take this to another level and create different sounds and create different intervals, you can still use the minor pentatonic scales, but built from a different root. For example, if I wanted to play over this A minor 7 chord, I could use the B minor pentatonic scale. And a B minor pentatonic scale is B, D, E, F sharp, A, B. Now those intervals compared to this A minor 7 chord are 2, 4, 5, 6, root, and back to 2. So now I'm still using a basic pentatonic, a basic minor pentatonic scale over this chord, but I have a different root. So I've created a totally different sound than if I did it with the same root. And these intervals that I've created, you can see there ends up being a major 6th. You should remember or know by this point that that creates a Dorian sound, because the only minor mode with the major 6 is Dorian. So if you're soloing over a minor chord or a minor 7 chord and you have the interval of a 6, you're creating the Dorian sound. So over this A minor 7 chord, I can use B minor pentatonic to solo and create a Dorian sound, because I end up with that major 6 interval. I also end up with this 9th or this 2nd interval, which is another interval that's not out of the regular pentatonic scale when I was soloing with the same root note. So using the B minor pentatonic over the A minor 7 chord, I can get this 2 or 9 and this major 6. So I've created a totally different sound, but still I'm just using the basic minor pentatonic scale. I'm just using a different root. The other option I could use over this is E minor. So over this A minor 7 chord, I could use the E minor pentatonic scale, which is E, G, A, B, D, E. Now my intervals are 5, flat 7, root, 2, 4, back to 5 over this A minor 7. Those are the intervals that the E minor pentatonic creates over the A minor 7 chord. And now I've created either a Dorian or Aeolian sound. I couldn't use this as Phrygian because there's a natural 2 there and Phrygian has a flat 2. So I could use E minor pentatonic over the A minor 7 chord and use it as either Dorian or Aeolian. Still, I'm just using the basic minor pentatonic scale over a basic minor or minor 7 chord, but I'm creating totally different sounds by superimposing, as it's called, a different scale over it. So I'm using an E minor pentatonic scale over the A minor instead of the A minor pentatonic scale over the A minor. So if you were to look at them all together, using the E minor pentatonic scale over the A minor 7, or if I was playing a C minor 7, I'd use a C minor pentatonic scale, so they have the same root, but we're talking about A minor 7, so using the A minor pentatonic scale over the A minor 7 gives me root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, which is just the basic minor pentatonic intervals, and I could use that over any minor chord from the major scale keys. It would work for any mode. But if I use B minor pentatonic over this A minor 7 chord, now my intervals compared to this A minor 7 are 2, 4, 5, 6 root, and that creates a Dorian sound because I have this major 6. Or if I use E minor pentatonic over this A minor 7 chord, I've created the intervals of 5, flat 7, root, 2, 4, and that could be used as either Dorian or Aeolian because there's a natural 2 and Phrygian has a flat 2. So just by using minor pentatonic scales, I can superimpose different ones over a chord and create totally different sounds. But I'm not having to learn any new fingerings. These are just the minor pentatonic scale patterns and fingerings. I just have to be on different spots on the fretboard and have to think about the intervals differently because now they're relating to this A minor. So if we were to look at this on a chart, if I was taking a minor pentatonic scale built off the root, the intervals compared to that chord with the same root would be root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, which is just the minor pentatonic scale intervals. The mode sounds that I could use this over, or the spots from the major scale that I could use this over, are Dorian, Phrygian, or Aeolian, so any of the minor chords. And if this was over an A minor 7, just to give it a reference to use, I would use A minor pentatonic. So A minor pentatonic because it's built off the root of this chord. But my next option is to use a minor pentatonic built off the second. So if we're talking about playing on A minor 7, the second of A minor is B minor because the A major scale is A, B, so on. The second note in the A major scale is B, so I'd use the B minor pentatonic scale over this A minor 7 chord, and that would give me the intervals of 2, 4, 5, 6 root, which would give me the mode sound of Dorian because of that natural 6 or the major 6. Or I could play a minor pentatonic scale built off the 5th. So if we're talking about A minor pentatonic, the 5th of A is E. If you're talking about the A major scale, A, B, C sharp, D, E. E is the 5th, so I'd use E minor pentatonic over A minor 7 chord, or A minor chord, doesn't matter. Then my intervals would be 5, flat 7, root, 2, 4. And that could either be Dorian or Aeolian because it has the natural 2 and Phrygian has the flat 2. So this is a way to still use minor pentatonic scales but superimpose them over chords with different roots and come up with totally different sounds because it changes the intervals compared to that chord that you're playing over. And just try this out. Take an A minor 7 chord, just a loop of an A minor 7 chord, just a 1 chord vamp. Play the A minor pentatonic scale slowly over it and listen to it. Then play the B minor pentatonic scale slowly over and listen to the difference. And then play the E minor pentatonic scale slowly over it and listen. And you'll really be able to hear that it creates totally different sounds, even though you're still using minor pentatonic the whole time, but using built off different roots creates totally different sounds because of the intervals it creates to that chord. And like I said, this is an advanced way to use the minor pentatonic scales to solo. It's not something you have to do if you don't like it. There's a lot of great players that don't do this, but it's another option for using the minor pentatonic scales and creating more advanced sounds or getting different harmonies or different sounds out of the basic minor pentatonic scale and scale patterns. And we're not going to talk about it in this lesson. This is something we'll talk about in a different series probably. But you can use this system to simplify really advanced chord progressions. You could take a jazz chord progression that changes keys a lot and simplify it using pentatonic scales by using this system. So hopefully that opens your eyes up to some of the possibilities that you can do with the minor pentatonic scale. Like I said, we'll dive deeper into this in other lessons, but I think this should really open up your eyes to possibilities. Go ahead and move on to the next lesson. We're going to show you how to do the same thing with major pentatonic scales over major chords. And be sure to download the e-guide. All the diagrams are in there. And be sure to subscribe because we add at least one new lesson every day.